This is my review of the Dark Matter Trilogy by Teri Terry. I picked these books up in a car boot sale. I think I paid £2 for all three. The first book, Contagion, although it has got a little bit of water damage, is actually signed by Teri Terry. To Luke, Teri Terry, which was a bit of a bonus and a bit of a surprise. So, decided to give these a read and then sell them on afterwards, possibly, if I didn't like them, or if I didn't like them enough to read them again. So, I'll go through a few of the notes I made whilst reading the books and try and avoid too many spoilers. On page 12, the state of Schrodinger's cat is not the paradox he thought. If the infinite observable world is left behind and the infinite accepted, the cat may live and die both at once. By the end of the trilogy, that statement will probably have more impact. On page 106, discovery is rarely a planned thing. A mistake, intelligently observed, can open a multiverse of possibility. I liked that. It reminded me of scientific research where you get more information from a failed experiment than from an experiment that works. On page 119, okay, if you read these books, when you get to page 119, tell me what you think. I thought it was extremely well written and very evocative, and I felt just deserved. And I felt it was a nice way to deal with a budding young rapist. Don't worry, there aren't any scenes of rape in this book. On page 126, my memory is like cheese with holes in it, or worse, cheese with holes in it that has been grated, then mixed up out of order. That has the ultimate definition of confusion. I feel like that sometimes. Page 239. Seek knowledge, but be wary of facts. They are always subject to the vagaries of human observation. Page 331. Once all possible solutions have been eliminated, the impossible becomes not only possible, but probable. That's basically a rewording from Einstein, I think. Page 368. So they're talking about the quarantine and saying the zones are spreading out from Aberdeen and Edinburgh too, in England and beyond, and there are small numbers of cases scattered around Europe and North and South America, Asia and Africa. Australia and New Zealand alone are still completely free of it. This seemed very prophetic. This book was written way before COVID, but it's pretty close representation of what actually happened, although weirdly army checkpoints weren't needed, I guess because the death rate wasn't as high. At the end of this book, I thought that I'd figured out pretty much from the start the twist that was revealed in the end, but it did leave me with further questions. I gave it a 4.5 stars, which is pretty high for me. What a great concept, combining quantum physics with microbiology, and to think that this was written before COVID, yet was pretty close to what happened when an outbreak did occur, although the consequences were even more severe in this novel. I guessed the source of the outbreak early on, but that only enhanced my enjoyment. The characters were all well written and believable, with their own hopes and dreams that flowed together well. I came into this book cold, with no idea what it was about, and I was soon gripped by the story. It was nicely paced, hard to put down, and I quickly started reading. Basically, as soon as I put this one down, I've picked up the next one. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I would say a young adult, but totally accessible to adults as well. But yeah, I think young adults would enjoy it too, as it centres on sort of teenagers, mostly. It has great character moments, along with the tension of a thriller and the backdrop of disease. Kind of glad I didn't read this during COVID, actually. I think it would have been quite a frightening book to read back then. But yes, as I say, really, really enjoyed it. Highly recommend it. The second book is called Deception. I really enjoyed this. Its fast-paced story follows on from the last book, and there are a few twists and turns. The characters are great, but some of them did annoy me with their attitudes and behaviour. But that might just be my age showing through. I'm guessing it's probably more typical teenage behaviours and appeal to teenagers more. So the notes I made on this one were on page 7, which was actually the start of the book. The stages of deception: shock, outrage, examination, tolerance and acceptance inevitably lead to veneration. Deception can serve truth as well as truth can unseat deception. It's all a matter of perspective. And on page 37, human emotions and reactions in response to given stimuli are often predictable. Human actions frequently are not. They are rarely governed by the rules of logic or evolution. On page 79, but things are about to change. All the fences and guards in the world can't stop me. At this point, I really took a disliking to the main character, Callie. I thought she was being such a bitch. I'm not going to tell you why, but read the book and you'll probably agree with me. I know she's just a kid, but I can't believe that she willingly, knowingly did what she did. Page 134. The animal pack instinct is also human. Early survival required it, but this drive to be part of a group, to identify what is like me, what is not, has consequences for those who are different. That's a real take-home message, isn't it, for everybody? Page 185. Rather, the page after 185. The company you choose to keep says far more about you than the family you were born with. This is definitely true. You don't really get to choose your family, do you? But you choose your friends, you choose those people you keep close to you. Page 255. The way to capture a soul should be with thought and careful reason, but in the unaltered mind and heart rarely agree. Other methods become necessary. 275. Soon after that I retreat the way I usually do, to books. That really resonated with me. During a period of illness in my life, that's what I did. I lived in books. Books sustained me. Books saw me through the hard times. And I can really relate to that in any book characters that say the same. 315. To see the truth, you must be able to listen, and not just with your ears, but with all of your senses. So, overall, I gave this book a 4, and I moved quickly on to the next one. As I say, I really enjoyed it because it was fast-paced, and although one of the characters annoyed me, the majority of them made up for it. So the final book is Evolution. And let's go through some of the pages I made notes on. So to start off, it starts, each of the 7 stages of evolution can only be investigated from the one before, stepping backwards in time. This made me think of my family history research and genealogy. Basically, you start from one generation and then you work backwards from them. You can't go forwards, it just doesn't work. So that made me laugh. Also true in science experiments. Page 2. Random changes that give a survival advantage are perpetuated within a species. The fittest survive and pass on their traits. But what if the changes aren't random? This is the moment humankind will truly evolve. Kind of a nice thought. Page 69. If all life on Earth, plant, animal, human, evolved from a common ancestor, life must be able to evolve from completely different forms. Why should this process have stopped now? Change is the most constant force in the universe. Basically feeling that everything is still evolving, and we probably have a long way to go. Page 105. Organic life evolved from an inorganic soup. Animate came from inanimate. All the things we've become arose from this miracle of spontaneous generation. Yes, I will call it a miracle, and once our science can explain and replicate this, we will be gods ourselves. The scary thought is that we're starting to see this with people attempting cloning. I really do wonder where that will go. Page 121. It's been so long since I've talked with anyone with whom I could completely let my guard down, say what I think, feel what I feel without having to hide it, and I yearn. For my mum, always. Part of me still can't accept that she's gone. This section almost brought me to tears, and it's almost bringing me to tears again now. Because my mum passed on a long time ago now. But she's still with me every day, and I still miss her to bits. Page 195. All things must live and die, even stars. The death of ancient stars ejected complex new elements. They combined and formed our planets, and so life uses death for its own purposes. On page 273, made me chuckle. Oh, it starts right at the bottom. She's one of those people who thinks on time is late. I'm one of those people. I get everywhere early, always. If you tell me to meet you at 10:30, I'll be there at 10, waiting, wondering where you are. Page 323. If it's true, it's outside our understanding, with the laws of physics as we know them. Two people, or one person, and an entity of some sort, tangled together, at a distance, spooky action at a distance. Now I'm really startled. He's quoting Einstein's criticism of quantum physics, that entangled quantum particles that instantly influence each other, no matter how fast apart they are, break the rules of relativity. My head is spinning. You know, I really hope that these books encourage youngsters to actually read Einstein's theory of relativity and related quantum physics books, because I think they'd enrich their lives. Page 444. Imagine nothing. It is both the biggest and the smallest concept that the mind can encompass. Then came the Big Bang. Space, time, matter, and energy were all created in that one event. From nothing, one event, and one only, that came before everything. Or so they say. And then I have a thought at the end of the book that I can't tell you because I don't want to give you a spoiler. But the gist of it is, I wasn't convinced that Callie would ever feel totally alone. I'm trying to think of a way to put my thoughts without giving any spoilers. I just think that at the end of this book, my concept of time travel was different from the author's, and I'll leave it at that. So at the end of this book, I gave it 4 stars. It was a great conclusion to the series. I enjoyed the concepts and the characters, mostly. I felt that some of the times the author forced the characters to be rushed so they couldn't talk to each other, when in reality you would most definitely ASAP. There were unnecessary misconceptions that forced the story a little in a way that didn't feel totally believable. But hey, they were teenagers, so maybe it's just my age talking. Everything concluded well, and I really enjoyed the trilogy and the whole concept. And since I read this after COVID, and it was written before, it seemed more real, strangely insightful. So, my overall thoughts. I just love the concept of this book, taking microbiology, a virus, and combining it with quantum physics to create something totally scary and totally believable too, in a strange way, even though it's total science fiction. I love the fact that the author obviously has a lot of knowledge about both biology, biochemistry, and quantum physics. And I love the way that she's woven it into the story to make you want to find out more about it and to be interested in it. The characters were great. There was great character development. You were really invested in all of them. A couple of them really annoyed me, as I've said, but they were teenagers, and I'm sure that's totally believable behaviour. I love the story arc. I love the ending. And the fact that it was written before COVID, the evolution of a virus and the way it runs through society and the way that society handles it was surprisingly spot on for what actually happened when we did have a virus like COVID. Although I have to say this virus in this book was horrifying in comparison. So age-wise, yes, definitely young adults, but adults would really enjoy these too. If you've got a scientific background, you'll probably get even more out of these books because a lot of the ideas you'll have in your head already and be thinking, wow, fancy putting those 2 ideas together. It was really cool. So I highly recommend these books. And yes, I have got them listed on eBay to sell, mainly because I think a fan might possibly want a signed version, although they don't have great value. But, you know, I am 50-50 whether I should keep them for a reread. But we'll see. If they don't sell very quickly, I might just hold on to them and read them again in the future. That's how much I like them. But not a 5-star book that I wanted to read straight away afterwards, if that makes sense. If you haven't already, read these books. If you have already, drop me drop me a line in the comments, let me know what you thought, and that's it for now. I'm off to read another book.